car alarm going off.
Good job, Richie.
I'm trying to jack cars here. Jesus Christ. If you don't mind, first of all, before we get into all those rumors and rumblings circulating right now, spend a little time talking about the one thing that kind of went down on Monday night, an important issue, but it's gone by the wayside now. That's Andrew McCutchen. So basically, the sim on Monday night had Pirates outfielder Andrew McCutchen essentially retiring from baseball because of a labrum injury that I guess the game deemed to be so overwhelming that it couldn't be rehabbed or anything else. So basically, Max's decision was to overturn this injury and turn it into a season-ending injury instead of a career-ending injury. I guess my question to you, Charles, is: did Max make the right decision here? I mean, don't mean to necessarily question Max, but this is kind of like a precedent in terms of kind of overturning that kind of thing. So is this a path that we're going down in terms of something like this? And yeah, what's your take on it?
Well, I mean, it is kind of a touchy subject just for the simple fact of where do you draw the line? But in saying that, Andrew McCutchen's an outfielder. Yeah, you got to have an arm to play center or right field. But have you ever heard of a shoulder injury? I mean, I've had labrum surgery, so it is painful and it takes you out for a while. But I've never
You're a pitcher,
right. And I mean, I've never heard of a fielder being gone because of labrums. So in that sense, I mean, making it a season-ending injury, I agree with. But I mean, the guy's 27. He's one of the best players in the game.
Yeah.
The Pirates are a small market team. I mean, I'm not saying, well, if it was the Yankees, let him go. But I mean, it's just he's too important to the league. He's too important to the Pirates. It's not realistic for him to be done. I mean, if he'd have tore an Achilles or, something major, maybe, but a labrum, I don't think it's a bad move by Max.
So simply on the fact that it was Andrew McCutchen, had it been like, something like Michael Young maybe, would you still have done it?
Well, I mean, I think you got to bring age into it too. I mean, if somebody's 38 years old, are they really going to want to rehab a shoulder? I mean, in real life, I don't think so. Now, if they're 27, I mean, if you're talking a 27-year-old, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter who it is. Then yeah, but if you're talking somebody like Michael Young, then maybe because realistically, he may not want to come back.
That reminds me, Noah brought this up. If you remember, Alfonso Soriano, I think, went through the same career-ending injury during the offseason, right?
I don't remember exactly what the injury was, but yeah, he pretty much went through some sort of offseason injury. Maybe this needs to be something that we put in an age requirement, an injury. I don't know if there's a listing that you can find of the injury, but maybe we need to have some sort of laid out.
Yeah, some sort of guidelines. Just we can't just arbitrarily assign, Andrew McCutchen, yes.
Right, and that would be my only thing, because, I mean, never would I ever think Max would try to just pull people back or whatnot. But at the same time, I can see where some people would say, well, why not this guy? Why this guy? So I think if we have a true outline of what would be realistic, then I don't think there would be an issue at all. And I don't think McCutchen, I really think this would fall into an outline that would be acceptable. We just need to outline it for everyone.
What about pitcher? Had been, I don't know, maybe Clayton Kershaw, would it have been more realistic for you?
Kershaw's 25? He's going to come back. Now, whether or not he comes back as strong as he did, I mean, up to the rehab, I mean, I think you would see some decline in ability. But, I mean, John Smoltz had several shoulder surgeries, and he came back.
Pitchers blow out their arms. I mean, well, more than hitters, really. They do see their careers ending. So
right, and I mean, even if it didn't end, he would probably see a decline in ability. I mean, that's just natural. I mean, take John Smoltz into consideration. He was, at one point, the winningest postseason pitcher in baseball. But after all the injuries, he became a closer. So, I mean, I'm not saying, you make Clayton Kershaw a closer, but, sometimes you have to adjust. Look at all the Tommy John surgeries that's been in baseball this year.
Yeah. That's a devastating blow to the Pirates, and they lose them. They lose Andrew McCutchen nonetheless. So.
Yeah, I mean, that type of injury would hurt any team in the league, let alone somebody, like the Pirates that just they don't have the depth, and they've got a young, cheap superstar. That hurts. It really does. And I hated to see it, but seizing injury is better than hurting.
Yeah, and I guess they're out shopping for a center fielder, and I guess that brings us to let's talk about the trading blocks that are popping up throughout the league right now.
Yeah, we've seen a few come up the last couple of days. It's still nowhere near like I'd like to. I wish we could get everybody to at least check the forms. I mean, I know it's not easy to post one, but it doesn't take. I mean, I check the form. I can check the form every day on my phone, and it takes a minute or two. So
use the forum, people.
Exactly.
That's the message.
The whole point of the online league is for everybody to, socialize. You don't have to be on the chat every single day, but I mean, if you just want to play in a league, you can do that offline. And I know some people can't be on every day or can't be on a lot, but hey, you can always check the forum.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start with the Orioles, since they were pretty much one of the first team who posted a blog. Joe announced that he's pretty much going to be a seller. He's going to sell off essentially his whole team, except for 5 guys. And those 5 guys are Manny Machado, Dylan Bundy, Kevin Gausman, Darren Ruff, his favorite player, and Jonathan Scope. So what's your take on Joe's decision to sell right now, become a
Well, I mean, he's rough through injuries. He's 9.5 out of the division. I mean, he's in last place, so 9.5 isn't impossible. But when you've got to overcome every team in the division, that makes it even harder. 9.5 behind 4 teams isn't the same as 9.5 behind. I know that sometimes doesn't make sense, but not every team's going to lose every night, so it's harder to gain. So, I mean, I'm not surprised he became a seller. He's got a lot of pieces that could be moved for pretty good return. So I think if he truly stays active, I think he can really retool his farm system and have a very, very good young team coming up.
Yeah, and one guy that I really, really like is Jonathan Scope, middle infielder that he has down in AAA, who's blocked right now, I think, because of J.J. Hardy at shortstop and who's at second base for him? Dan Ugla. Blocked by Dan Ugla. So.
Well, I think
he's a promising kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's hitting over 300. He's going down a little bit. He's hitting over 300. He's great defensive second baseman.
Yeah,
he's got some home run. I mean, he's across the board. He's a good player. He really is. I mean, I don't know a team in baseball that would want him. He's only 22.
Yeah, this could be a new way for Joe, because I know he's dead last in the league with defensive efficiency. So any improvement anywhere on a diamond could really help turn the page for him.
Yeah, and if you look at his top prospects, I mean, out of his top 20, only 6 are position players. 4 of them are. I mean, he's got the guys at the major league level that he can move. I mean, I think it's pretty much a guarantee that you'll see Hardy move.
Yeah, Hardy.
You'll probably see Mike Morse move. I mean, somebody in the AL could really use a DH. You'll probably see, I wouldn't be shocked to see Markakis move, and that'll bring a pretty good, that'll bring a pretty good return. And then the one that might be a little bit of a wild card to possibly move would be Chris Davis. I mean, I probably wouldn't move him. It just depends on how much of a rebuild mode he wants.
Yeah, and put Darren Ruff at first base, I guess, because Ruff is DHing right now.
Yeah, I mean, you easily could. I mean, he's out for the next month and a half. Yeah, you could easily put him first base, or you could DH him and move. I mean, you can get a first baseman in a trade. I mean, I've got Matt Adams available. I mean, there's some other guys available for
good plug.
Speaking of the right package.
Speaking of Morse, who was signed in the offseason, what do you remember the ruling that Max made on trading away guys who were signed in the offseason?
The way the actual real major league rules are, if you sign somebody in the offseason, you can't trade until June 1st. So we kind of talked about that. Initially, it was you could trade away signed players, but you couldn't trade away recently traded for players, which is kind of backwards. So now you can trade anybody you require in trade immediately. But you can't trade anybody you sign an off season until after June 1st. Well, we're past June 1st, so it's fair game.
The anti-Noah rule.
Yeah, Noah was just signing people to trade. I mean, at the time it was working for him, but I'd like to keep. I mean, semi-realistic. But yeah, the Orioles definitely got plenty of guys, and I know a guy that will probably really bring in some offers would be somebody like Josh Johnson. So
Yeah. So speaking of another seller, let's move on. Well, this is kind of an obvious choice, but the Royals. You wouldn't tell it from the Goldschmidt deal, but I think Luke kind of admits it himself that he is a seller. So he posted a block today announcing Billy Butler, who's of course on the block, blocked at DH by Eric Hosmer. And then he has James Shields, who's rehabbing in AAA right now, coming back from injury, and pretty much a very stocked rotation full of veteran guys who he can move, like Wade Davis, Jason Vargas, and Irvin Santana. So he could get some young guys back for the youth movement that he's looking for right now.
Oh yeah, and I mean, we talked about the Goldschmidt trade, and we both kind of agreed that it probably would have been better to use the prospects toward another position. But I mean, it's not like he got a great young first baseman that has a lot of potential. He's cheap. Cheap is always good for the Royals. I mean, they don't have the money that some other teams have. So he's only 4.5 games out. I think it's just a matter of time before Detroit really gets rolling and starts pulling away. Maybe even Cleveland. I know we talked to Jess last night. That team's hanging in, but I just don't see it in the long run this year. So, I mean, he's definitely got the arms that he could easily move, and pitching is always going to be in demand when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, a lot of teams needing starting pitching right now.
And Shields will be interesting. I mean, it's going to be big for him to come back, show some signs that he's going to be strong, because right now some people are a little leery just because he was hurt. He's a free agent in all season. It'll be a big few
is he owe? What is his contract worth?
Yeah, I mean, it's a $12 million team option this year.
Yeah.
So he's probably owed roughly $7 or $8 million.
700 million?
7 or 8 million.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
yeah, 7 million.
So I mean, even if he's kind of roughed up a little bit, I think he'll still draw some interest. But obviously, the better he pitches, the better the offers will be.
Speaking of Noah, let's move to the Phillies. He's got his foot kind of in both doors now, but I think he's selling on being a buyer for the stretch run. He's looking for a starting pitcher, and maybe some bullpen arms, and not a whole lot that he can deal that's going to attract a lot of people in terms of contract-wise, but he does have some pieces, right?
Yeah, I mean, Noah's going to be a little creative, just because prospect-wise, I mean, he's got a few people. He's got 4 in the top 100 that he could do, but he doesn't have a lot of depth when it comes to the minor leagues. So he could easily end up having to trade off one of his more expensive veterans trying to fill a hole somewhere.
Yeah. Ryan Howard was gone in the offseason, so that's a big step forward. But he still has Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley, kind of the old guard, still with the team. He's doing relatively well, though.
Well, Jimmy Rollins is having a great year, and then Chase Utley's got a 408 on base percentage. So
yeah.
And they're single-handedly some of the reasons. And Gerald Saltalamacchia, who he was trying to get rid of, has 15 home runs. So I'm not sure they can keep that up throughout the year, but if they do, hey, he's going to be right there in the end.
Yeah, but the one place that they're not doing so great on with their veterans is this starting rotation. Cliff Lee has a near 6 ERA, and Cole Hamels 4 ERA. So I mean, they can improve there if find a suitor for Cliff Lee, maybe.
It's possible. You don't expect him to be that bad, but I mean, his contract's $25 million, so it's probably, I don't know, I'm gonna roughly say 14 the rest of this year. He's got 25 next year, and 27.5 in 2016 with a $12.5 million buyout. I mean, he's gonna have to eat a chunk of that to get rid of it, and then I'm not sure what kind of return you can actually get.
Yeah.
And if you look at his velocity is way down. So that's a risky guy you could take on.
Yeah, and one guy who's doing really well for him is Nate Eovaldi. Noah hasn't been too happy with that trade, but Eovaldi is 8-1 with a 3.83 ERA, and basically the Cole ace in that rotation with Roy Halladay.
Yeah, he can. I mean, I wouldn't complain at all that in that deal. Really, I mean, I know he gave up Ben Revere, and while Revere's fast and all, if you go and look at his on base, he's really not. If he doesn't get a hit, he doesn't walk a lot. So that kind of takes away from his ability with his speed. So I don't think it was a bad deal at all for him. I mean, do I think Vivaldi's going to keep this up from now on? Probably not. But hey, ride it while he can.
So Phillies in first place, tied with the Nats right now. So good luck to you, Noah, holding off the Nats. And let's move on to the Giants. Trey hasn't been too vocal about what his needs are. A couple guys that he has available right now is Brennan Belt. Brennan Belt hasn't been playing every day for him for some reason. Let's see who he has at first base.
He had been putting Preston Posey at first base. So
That's right.
So, and the thing with San Francisco, he started out so hot. He was easily the best team early on. They've kind of come back down to earth, and his clutchness has kind of gone away. And if you look at his farm system, they're third to last in the majors. So, I mean, he could probably use any kind of good prospects. So.
I mean, if you were Trey right now, would you buy some pieces and make a run for it? Because realistically, he does have a chance.
I mean, he does. I mean, he's only 4.5 out, but you got to think the Dodgers are going to stay strong. Obviously, your team has really turned it around here, almost back up to 500, and then the Padres are staying strong, so it's going to be tough. But
he's going to need some bats for sure.
I think what he's going to, and I'm not 100% sure what his financials are, I think because of his farm system, he's going to probably have to rely on taking maybe some of the bigger contracts.
Yeah.
So
looking at his corner outfield right now, you have Jeff Francoeur is doing really, really well with a 273 batting average. But the other two guys, Brett Jackson, who's barely hitting 200, and Roger Kiersnick, who shouldn't be playing, semi-regularly, but has no other options, I guess.
Well, the one interesting thing about Brett Jackson, he's hitting under 200, but he's got an over 300 on-base percentage, so at least he is getting on base.
Yeah, 7 home runs from, that's more, that's just one less than the other 4 outfielders combined.
So, he definitely has some room for improvement, but I just don't know that he has the pieces to go after the more controllable type guys. So if he has the financial space, he might end up having to take a risk on a contract. We'll see. It just he's probably going to play it a little slow to see how it is for the next week or two, see how the team goes, and then go from there. Because he has some pieces that he could easily move and get a return on and rebuild that farm system.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jackson Williams right now, and Trey calls him the best defensive catcher in the league, not named Yadier Molina. How do you feel about that?
Hey, I'm just glad to have Yadier on my team. So, but he is a good young catcher. There's no question about that. So, and any kind of offense he provides is a plus. So he's a good catcher. I would say half the teams in the league would have him because catcher is hard to come to.
Yeah. Right, so let's move on. I'm going to save some teams for last because just for the dramatics. But Arizona Mike. He posted about 3 weeks ago, so I guess it isn't as updated as.
I know I reached out to him.
Okay.
And I know everybody on his trade block is still available. He's just basically wanting prospects. He's got a few interesting guys. Prado. The only thing with Prado is his contract's a little high, but he's still a good player that I think a lot of people could use, and that would actually be a guy because of his contract that somebody like the Giants could go for.
Yeah. Screw interdivision.
Yeah, that would be kind of the holdup, but if he had a good solid prospect off of Prado, hey, maybe he'll do it. I'm not exactly 100% sure exactly what Mike is looking for in return, but that would be an interesting person to move there.
Yeah, and let's stay within the division. I know Shane said he's going to join us, but that doesn't look like it. But let's discuss this block here. So same problems that he's been having all season, basically up the middle infield specifically. He did sign Stephen Drew the shortstop in the offseason, but kind of lost his job now. So backup infielder Ramon Santiago is playing every day now. So kind of not your prototypical star-studded infield that you would find on the Dodgers. I guess they could stand to acquire maybe an infielder.
Yeah, well, I thought that too, and I know he was originally moving Puig trying to get a second baseman, but I talked to him the other day about possibly Carpenter, but he's changed his mind now, and he seems to be happy with how his middle infield is going right now. So from what I understand and talking to him, he's mainly looking for another arm, and he's going to be picky about it. So he's got the prospects to do it.
Yeah. Can you explain to me what's wrong with Puig right now? I mean, a lot of teams would love to have.
I mean, he's not the Yasiel Puig that we see,
yeah, but still
out there, but he's still a very, very, very good player. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he figures he can't move the contracts in the outfield that he's got now, so he'd use him as trade bait to kind of improve somewhere else.
Because Andre Ethier just went down on Monday with a 6-week injury, so he's down to 3 outfielders now with Jock Peterson, Matt Kemp, and Ryan Ludwig.
And then he's got Brian Cavazos Galvez that he's called up. That's got tremendous gap power and contact. Yeah. The only problem he's got is his eye discipline, but he's actually a very good player. So I don't know. I guess he figures he could get the most value out of Puig. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, being their divisional rival and all, I mean, I want to see Puig in the majors to see what he can do. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think, he's not going to probably go out there and hit 330 and 20 home runs the rest of the year, but it would definitely help somebody. I know I would have liked to have gotten him, but it didn't work out, so somebody will end up with a good player.
Yeah, and another interesting guy that he has is D. Gordon, the very skinny middle infielder that he's trying to, I guess, train for speed down in AAA. A lot of teams need a middle infielder, so maybe D. Gordon gets shipped off somewhere.
Yeah, I think he would be he's a good potential bench guy. If you got an injury, he could really fill in. Only worry with him is his bat. If he can do anything solidly with that, he can be a solid shortstop for you. And then when he gets on base, obviously with that speed, he really causes some issues. So he's hitting almost 300 in AAA right now. Now, if he can carry that up to the majors, I don't know, but
he's really turned it around in real life. I mean, it's possible, despite what the ratings say.
Well, I think sometimes people try to be too much. Everybody falls in love with a homer.
Yeah.
A double, and I would rather give up a homer than have somebody on base constantly and have to worry about speed. So that's where he really excels, and I think he finally figured that out.
Yeah, so hopefully someone gives him a chance. I mean, if I didn't have Tulo, I would trade for D. Gordon.
You can trade Tulo to me, and then you can get D. Gordon.
All right, deal. We'll process after the show. All right. What should we talk about next? Where do you want to go, Charles? to the big news of the day, or
I'll throw this out there real quick. I know Tim is in the market. I've been talking to him. Tim's in the market for some pitching. I know that right now it's kind of scarce, but he's actually got some guys out there that you may not think are available that could potentially be available. So that'll be interesting to see what he does, especially as a division leader. He's got to be a little flexible just because of budgetary concerns. So, I mean, that'll be interesting to see what they do to make sure they stay on top of the division the rest of the year.
Yeah, because he's been wanting a right fielder to platoon with Jeff Decker. But I know he's kind of hesitant to kind of be aggressive here because Decker's hitting 275, and I guess he's trying to try him out every day, I guess, instead of going out and inquire about it.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. His splits, I mean, he's doing pretty well against right and left. He's only had 25 at-bats against left-handers, but he's still hitting 320, bomb, and 6 RBIs. So, hey, if he keeps that up, that wouldn't be bad at all. Only thing that would worry me about Decker, especially in right field, is his defense.
Yeah. Let's see what kind of pieces he has in AAA. He has a couple very solid bullpen arms stashed away in AAA.
Yeah, and you're not going to sit there and say, oh, the Padres have, the top prospects that you could probably see moving for a big name, but that's not how the Padres do anyway, just because they don't have the money. They need the prospects to kind of come up, but they do have a solid farm system. I mean, they're ranked 17th.
Yeah.
But he's got the pieces if he needed to. He could go out and he probably could get an arm. I don't know if he could go get a David Price or.
No. Yeah.
But he might could get a James Shields or somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what Luke's looking for, so we'll see how that market goes on.
Well, all right. Let's. You want to talk about the big news of the day? Coming from St. Louis.
Yeah. As everybody knows, I was kind of shopping Lynn.
No, we did not know that.
Well, everybody's been on the forum chat.
Just kind of fill us in what the process has been like for you the last couple of days, and what made you decide to kind of shop him this early?
Well, when you start looking at the pitching market, pitching's always in demand, and I knew if I waited another couple of weeks, the market was going to get some more arms out there. He was going to potentially have a David Price out there. He was going to have, obviously, some of the guys from Kansas City. And as much as I liked Lynn, I knew there was a lot of polar opposite views on him. I mean, some people looked at the year he's had, hey, he's not worth a whole lot. And then some people looked at his ratings and realized he still has potential to be a really, really good pitcher. So, that was kind of what I ran into. But
what's your perception of him? What do you think his ceiling is?
I think he could easily be a number 3 on a playoff team. I think if he's your ace or number 2, you're kind of on the. If he's your ace, I don't think that necessarily he's going to be on a playoff team. But I think he could easily be a number 3 pitcher on a playoff team.
Or I guess I'm not a playoff team then because I see him as an ace. So.
Well, I mean, he has the potential, but I just don't think.
That's just saying how bad my rotation is. But
well, you're also in Colorado, who makes it's hard to really keep a good rotation out there. So, but I mean, he ended up. I traded with Cy. I don't know if Cy's actually. I mean, he made the offer, so he's asleep right now. So I don't know if he's seen the actual "I accept" email.
Wait, so is this official, or are you going on assumption that he's gonna wake up and say yes?
Well, he made the offer. He actually made 2 separate offers.
Okay.
So he told me to think about it, and so I mean, unless something happens and he gets blown away with another offer for whatever backs out for whatever reason, I would say it's 95% done.
Well, he's gonna have a big surprise when he wakes up.
Oh yeah, and I mean he's in the playoff run, so it'll be a boost for his team.
Yeah, let's talk about his rotation because Lance Lynn very well could be his ace in the top half of that rotation.
I think he'll. I guess it depends on how you look at it because Pelfrey's been very good.
Yep.
Turner's been very good. He'll probably end up replacing Henderson Alvarez for now.
Yeah, Henderson.
Jose Fernandez has not been exactly what we've expected, but I don't expect it to stay that way either. So, it's a rotation that doesn't have a lot of flash. I mean, its top strikeout guy's got 65 strikeouts. And then when you throw in Lance Lynn, who has, 79 strikeouts in 80 innings. So he's in a bigger ballpark. Home runs have been kind of his issue, but Miami's a big ballpark, so I don't think that'll be a big issue. It'll be a good rotation for him, and I think he'll really, barring injuries, he'll stay there till the end.
Yeah, very unexpected, but very good acquisition for Cy. And so, what did you get in return for Lance Lynn?
Unofficially, I guess, until he wakes up. But I mean, I got Donovan Solano, who really
the second.
Yeah, he really gives me some flexibility because I've been in the market to move Matt Adams anyway. Well, if I can move Matt Adams and Matt Holliday, that'll allow me to put Solano at second, Carpenter at first base, who's actually a better first baseman than he is anything else.
Interesting. Has he played first base in real life?
I don't know that he has. Maybe Blue Moon, but I know he's a third baseman now.
Yeah.
But he'll end up being my first baseman, and then if I can move Holliday, I'll move Craig into left field. So that would be my ideal situation, and getting Solano really allows me to put that into motion.
Yeah.
I was also able to acquire Brad Hand in the deal. He'll allow me the ability to have the flexibility to maybe put him as a fifth starter or put him in the pen. I mean, he's been pretty solid for.
Yeah, he's a setup man right now, it seems.
Yeah, so he's been good. Basically, right now I'm looking at either Clayto down in AAA, who's 97 and 99. I'm not sure he can probably be a starter long term, but hey, I'm gonna give him a shot potentially at the number 5 this year. Let Hand potentially or Rich Harden. I mean, as good as I think Lynn can be, he still was a 5 ERA, so it's not like I'm trying to replace, a 3 ERA right now. So I got better offensively, and I don't really think I can get much worse than what I was getting out of Lynn right now. So,
yeah.
And the final piece of the deal was, I'm drawing a blank here, but
Stanton, maybe? No.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How did you forget his name? Wow.
No, the final one was Hunter Renfroe, who's one of the top 100 prospects.
Yeah.
So he gives me he builds my farm system a little deeper. I did have to send Ryan Jackson, who was my starting shortstop at the beginning of the year, in the deal. But as much as he struggled, I have Addison Russell. He was easily replaceable. So I think he's got a chance to be a good, solid player, but he didn't really fit my needs right now.
So who's playing short for you now?
Right now, Pete Cosmo. Yeah, it's rough. I'm still shopping out there. I'm actually in talks right now with a guy for potential shortstop who's actually not one that most know out here. I mean, I've talked about Hardy. I've talked about Escobar. I've talked to Max some about Aviles. I've even try to go big or go home on trying to get Cabrera from Max, but obviously that wasn't going to be an easy pull. So I'm still out there trying to get the deal done to get that shortstop in because I definitely need it.
Yeah. And speaking of Max, let's kind of rewind and go back to the trade that he made with Jess for Adam Dunn, because we talked about it on Jazz side, but we really didn't discuss it on the Indian side. What did you think of that deal?
That was an interesting deal. I think it's very little risk for Max, just because Dunn's in his last year. He can get hot and really start putting the ball out of the ballpark. And he got rid of Bourne, whose contract was for more years and only a couple $1 million less than Dunn. So he didn't add a lot for this year, but he saved a lot in the future. So while Bourne probably would be good this year, the decline was on its way, and that was my one worry with the deal from Jess's perspective. He's already got a good many outfielders, so I don't know that it really fit, but he may be able to flip Bourne for something else. We shall see.
But does Dunn really help to solve any of the problems that Max has right now, especially at first base? Would you put Adam Dunn out at first base?
I would not, but he provides that big, powerful bat that, he's going to walk. He's got a 375 on base percentage. It's only in 63 at bats, but anybody that gets on base at a 375 clips. And then he's going to run into them every now and then. So his first game, I think he hit one out for Max. So if he can hit some homers, that's basically what he got him for.
Personally, I would like to see Max go out and get another first baseman. A real one this time.
Well, we talked about Matt Adams. There's some interest there.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And I'm not sure what other first basemen are available out there.
Anything is better than Michael Young. I'm sorry, but Michael Young should not be on a major league roster.
And Max has I know me and you kind of discussed it earlier. He's got a nice farm system.
Yeah.
So if he really wanted to, I don't think he necessarily wants to get rid of his prospects because I don't think he truly views himself as a legitimate contender this year.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wanted to, and I think if the right deal arose, you could see him potentially getting. I think like a Goldschmidt would have looked great.
Yeah, that would have been really very nice in that lineup.
I don't know. Maybe he goes after an interdivision and he's not great defensively, but he might potentially look at Billy Butler. I don't know. The Dunn move may have kind of squashed that one, but I'm not sure what Luke's looking for.
Well, let's. Who do we have left?
Let's see. I haven't really heard much out of Charles number 2 lately.
The fake Charles, as he calls it.
Now, let's talk about your block. Are you potentially looking to move? I've heard some talk of maybe Carlos Gonzalez in the right deal.
Wait, where's my block?
You haven't updated your block in like 6 months, so.
Yeah, this is horrible. Who do I even have? Okay. I do have, 2 months ago, I did have Eric Young Jr., who I guess is still available right now I primarily see him as an outfielder. I guess that's where he plays the best, but if push comes to shove, anyone who can live with adequate or below adequate defense at second base, he's worth a shot with that kind of speed and being the switch hitter that he is. I think he's worth a shot with his versatility in both the outfield and second base. So because I have been carrying like 4, 5, 6 outfielders ever since opening day, so he's been expendable for me, kind of filling in here and there. And then the other guy that I have, same position, which is second, who's blocked by Josh Rutledge, who's playing every day for me, is DJ LeMahieu, who's at AAA right now. He had a great season last year. Currently finding his stroke right now, but I have no doubt that he can hit at the major league level. Kind of like D. Gordon, he hasn't gotten the chance yet, but I think he can hit. And definitely anyone who's looking for a stopgap guy at second, give him a shot. Basically, pretty much the same goes for me in terms of trying to find a top-level starting pitcher. I know I did recently acquire Willie Peralta about a month ago. He's doing really well for me, but still not the big elite arm that I'm looking for. Because what I've basically realized playing in cores is that you either go big or you go home. In terms of the talent, in terms of the pitching that you have, because you really can't be wishy-washy and try to get by with an adequate guy or a moderate guy. You either have to say maybe David Price or something, see how he does instead of going middle of the road guys. So I do have the talent to trade for that kind of talent, that kind of caliber starting pitcher. So. My doors are open if anyone wants to sell me their ace, I guess.
No, I mean, you were talking about your talent. Are all your prospects available, or I mean?
Yeah, my top 2 guys, David Dahl, an outfielder who's top 30 prospect, I think, is available, and Trevor Story, second baseman / third baseman, 21-year-old who's in the top 40. He's also available. Both great hitters. Being the team that I am, I don't see myself needing their services in the long term. So I'm putting a lot on the blocks just to see what kind of return I get.
Dahl is a guy that I really, really like. If he leads up to his potential, he's going to be an offensive machine.
Yeah.
While providing pretty good defense. I mean, he's not going to probably be gold glove defense, but he's not going to hurt you out there in the outfield either.
Yeah, he's a center fielder by trade, but I'm not going to play him in center field just because that's too big of a chance to take, considering where I play. So that too, either go big or go home on defense.
Well, I mean, with your recent run, is there anybody that you had thought about maybe moving on the major league team that now is pretty much, unless you're just absolutely blown away with an offer that you're not?
Well, no one's really offered me anything, but kind of within the inner circle, I guess a couple teams has known about Cargo. Cargo's been having a really, really disappointing season so far. Hitting about 200. I've been benching him like 2 days in a row last week, so it's come to that point where he has to be benched despite his defense. So, but being the guy that he is, I mean, maybe he's a change of scenery guy. Maybe he's tired of Colorado. But I'm all for dealing him.
He's a lot like probably Lance Lynn was. I mean, he's not as nearly as bad as his stats are indicating, but
yeah.
I think he's only 28 years old. His salary, the only negative is his salary will really jump starting next year. But I mean, outside of that, he's obviously an elite player.
Yeah, and if I can, do even a 1-for-1 straight up with a starting pitcher of similar value or contract, I would jump for it just to offset some of that offense to an area where I do need the most is pitching. So
Yeah, his offense has definitely not been Colorado's this year. That's for sure.
yeah, I think we're on a 6-game winning streak, so I've been relatively pleased with that kind of luck, I guess, dumb luck or ignorance or.
Well, I mean, you won the last 2 games against Atlanta. You swept San Francisco, and then you just took the first game.
I was facing Luis Avilan, so that was a given.
Yeah, look, my team seems to do worse against people you would never dream of doing bad against. So.
Yeah, Kevin Slowey, what was that? I mean, oh my God.
That's one reason I'm in the market for some offense. I got to get some on base because that's pretty much what's killing my team. Is Tavares is doing great, and Alan Craig has been, outside of his injury, he's been absolutely phenomenal. So I got to get some offense going there because I got the pitching I think that can carry me, but if we don't score, it doesn't matter.
I guess that's pretty much it. Any other teams that you want to kind of beat the drums on?
Well, I think we kind of touched on Tampa Bay a little bit.
Yeah, Ryan's back. Obviously,
yeah, and David Price is obviously, if he becomes available, he's going to be probably the most coveted starting pitcher on the market.
Why is anyone assuming that he's a seller? I mean, he has a better record than me, and he's 8.5 out, but he's still very much in the race.
Well, I think some of it is he's kind of hinted at it. I mean, he's not said that he's going to sell, but he said if he's deemed himself out of it, that he will become a seller. So I think that's kind of where it is. Plus, with Tampa Bay's financial systems, I mean, we've kind of talked about it with some other teams.
Yeah.
They've got to get what they can when they can. And, I mean, more than likely, they're not going to be able to re-sign David Price after next year, so why not try to get the most you can? So while he's not quote-unquote out of it, he is 8.5 out of the division. I still think the wild card, unless they just beat up on each other, I think both wild cards are going to come out of the West. Unless
Angels and Rangers, you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Seattle's obviously 38 and 32, and then you got the A's and the Rangers that are right there. So, and the Yankees are still a game over 500. So,
they're just being controlled telepathically right now.
So it's going to be hard for him to really make a run, but I mean, it's not impossible. But I think if you had to choose one side or the other, I think he'll end up being a seller.
All right. I'm going to make a bet that by the time we talk next week, Escobar's gone. How about that?
Yeah.
Is that realistic or no?
I think he's one that will be gone before the trade deadline. I think he really would help some teams out. I know I talked about him, looked at possibly getting him. Just kind of kick the tires on that. Like I said, I kicked the tires on J.J. Hardy, Michael Velas. So there's some middle infielders out there that are available. It's just I think the market hasn't fully developed yet to really know what different players are worth. So, and that's one thing I ran into with Lynn was just kind of let the market develop. So
hopefully by the time we talk next, some more teams will emerge so we can have a better understanding of what prices people are looking for.
Yeah, and I think we'll start seeing it. I don't think a lot of people are wanting to become sellers because we are in a one-day sim.
Yeah.
And I think that really kind of takes into it because, the rebuilding process, you're not going to get the reward out of it as quick. And I think that kind of has some hold up. And then I think some teams are still holding out hope they'll go on a run. I mean, we still got a week or two left in June, so there's still some time.
Well, any finishing thoughts before we wrap this up? Is Lance and Lynn being moved within this sim or tomorrow's sim?
Well, it'll probably be, I'll try to have him moved before tomorrow's sim just for the simple fact of Cy wasn't awake to confirm.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be, I'll try to see if they'll do it actually before the sim. But he pitched last night, so he's not going to pitch again, and he's not going to get hurt or anything.
Yeah, hopefully we can get Cy on, and he's kind of informally agreed to be on, but I'd like to hear from him, especially with this trade now. Interesting situation that he's in.
Yeah, and I know you had kind of talked to him about maybe getting on. So
He said he's willing to wake up at 6 a.m. to coincide with our time, that our little time slot that we have here, and kind of chat with us, I guess.
yeah, I'm all for that. And I know I've talked to Tim, and Tim would be down for it too. And I bet we could probably get Ryan on.
Yeah, because we have how many weeks before the deadline? Six more weeks, is it? We're middle of June right now. So
yeah, I think so.
So ideally we can bring on one person every week and fill in, have a little segment like what we did yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I think we could bring, like, if we brought on, obviously, who I think is the biggest shock and so far, bring on Tim, and you talk about Cy.
Yeah.
We can bring on somebody like
Steve is on right now. Steve, can you chat him up? Steve is on the chat. So.
You want me to see if he'll come on?
Yeah. Just gonna call him out right here.
Well, anyway, somebody like Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Who else?
Maybe we can get kind of a mid-year review from Max, how he thinks the league's going, and kind of touch base. Because we've had some guys that everybody seems to be at least exporting, but I mean, I'd like to kind of talk to Max about how we can get more activity.
Yeah. I definitely want to discuss that. So sometime before the deadline or after, sometime.
But yeah, I think we could easily. I mean, I don't know that we could do an hour show like we did with Jesse last night. But.
There's no way anyone can top that. So let's just.
And then I guess Shane will be back on in a couple of weeks, so that'll be automatically the Dodgers joining.
Well, all right, let's.
And did you see Steve's reply?
Yep, I do see it. All right, you're booked sometime in the near future.
So yeah, I think we can fill it out easily. But I think the real important thing I'd like to get Max back on. One, we can kind of touch base on how the season's going.
Yeah.
Activity, and then we can also kind of talk about the injury that we discussed.
That sounds good. All right. Same time next week.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.